Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Good morning, church family. My name is Huffer. We are the Naples Project. Our teammates are here today. And we are, the first thing before we even jump into anything, we just need to say thank you. Thank you to Jeff and Robert and Jonah and the whole church family here for supporting us as a church. Part of that 14% comes to us that allows us to do the work that we are doing each month, each week, each day with the neighbors in the Golden Gate Estates community and Northeast Naples. And so we are so grateful for your partnership and all the ways that you help us in so many different ways and encourage us in this hard work of starting a new church. We are the Naples Project. We don't have a name yet. We're the church without a name, without a location, and without a congregation. And so people are very confused what we do. It's interesting, as we got started here, this was really a God story. It was our family. This is my family, my wife Monica, and my daughters Jerry, Jean, and Chandler Joy. They couldn't be here today. We had some car issues going on, so we have one vehicle family. But they were so excited to come and just say thank you as well. But my family, my wife is doing all of our hospitality, our guest services for our ministry. Her gift is making sure no one falls through the cracks. And then if you've ever seen the movie Frozen, Jerry is Elsa and Chandler is Anna. That's how I explain that, okay? And then we have our teammates, Aaron and Melissa Smith. Here's a picture of that family with us. Aaron is my right-hand man. He is good at all the things that I am not, and I don't know how I would do life without him. And Melissa is our kids' pastor and is really great at rallying people around a cause. And we have their three beautiful kids, Riley, Sawyer, and Rowan. Rowan, that little one, is my arch nemesis. But anyway, they are such a beautiful family, and what happened was God brought us together, stirred our hearts about starting a new church in Florida. It was never on our radar. We got approached, hey, would you pray about planting a church in Florida? And I lied. I said yes and didn't pray. I know, confession time. But 5 months later, they asked, hey, did you pray? And we had to confess that we didn't. And then once we started praying, the Lord wrecked our hearts. Now, I don't know about you, but when I started praying about planting a church in Florida, Naples, Florida was nowhere on my list. It wasn't on my radar at all. It was not, when it was first thrown out to me as an idea, I laughed it off. Okay, I'll keep Naples on the list. Because for me, when you think about planting a church in Naples, I can't help but ask this question: why Naples? Usually when that's asked, we meet people in our community. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm a church pastor of a church with no name and no location, no congregation. And they look at me and they're so confused. And they're like, well, why here? Why Naples? And there's a part of it that my insecurities come out. I think they look me up and down and their eyebrows kind of burrow and they go, why you in Naples? Why do we need a new church in Naples? Why Naples? I mean, it's been voted the happiest city in America multiple years over the last 5 years. Why Naples? I mean, why Naples? It's a place where the uber wealthy live, where the people who are on an upward trajectory. Why do we need a non-for-profit, a church in Naples? Why Naples? It's a place that's been known as paradise for centuries. I mean, why Naples? This is the last place that really needs anything like that, right? We asked the question of the Florida church planters, a church planting organization. We try to keep it off the list. We want to be in Fort Myers. No, please not Naples. And we asked them, what's your top need in Florida? And they said, Naples. We went kicking and screaming. Because I couldn't help but think, why would God choose an Okie from Muskogee? That's me. To bring him and his family and friends to start a new church. It's a valid question, one that I wrestle with to this day. So we came down, we prayed over all of Southwest Florida. We took tours of different communities and prayer walked different neighborhoods, and we asked, Lord, what are you doing? Where are you sending us? And we found out that 8 out of 10 people don't share our faith in Naples. Out of all the cities in America, the Fort Myers, Naples metro area is the number 14 on one of the highest post-Christian cities in America. The highest metro area from the state of Florida. And we thought those stats just couldn't be true until we moved here. And we began meeting all the people, all of our neighbors, and everyone we meet, no one follows Jesus. It's very de-churched. People that grew up in Catholic or grew up in a mainline denomination or grew up in church, and it's kind of like the first year of college at a secular university. You move to Florida, you start having fun and partying and living like you're on the vacation life, and next thing you know, you're leveraged out, have made decisions that are wrecking your marriage and your life. And so fast forward a year or so later, here we are, starting a new church in Naples. Why Naples? Ultimately, the answer comes from what we call the Great Commission. On St. Patrick's Day, today, it's good to talk about the Great Commission. It was Patrick all those years ago that heard those words, go make disciples of all nations. And he said, oh, that includes my previous slaveholders in Ireland. I need to go back to where I was a slave and tell them about Jesus. You know, see, St. Patrick's Day is so much more than leprechauns and parades and beer. It's about taking the gospel to the ends of the earth. You see, every book about Jesus, called the Gospels, ends with a commissioning of Jesus to go and take what he has done to all the known world. Matthew 28, go make disciples of all nations. Mark 16, preach the gospel to the entire world. You have Luke, which kind of, you remember Luke has his 2 volumes, Luke Acts, and so his Great Commission is actually Acts chapter 1, verse 8. You'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Every single book about Jesus ends with this. What we've done here is so good, we got to take it everywhere. Yet my favorite Great Commission passage is the shortest one. It's easiest to remember. John 20:21, it says this. Again, Jesus said, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. Boy, that's easy to remember, right? Here's your peace. Father sent me, so I'm sending you. It's 3 parts. Every good sermon has 3 parts, right? Peace be with you. The Father sent me. And the way he sent me, I am sending you. Now go, church, do that. That's the Christian life. Go do what Jesus did everywhere where there's no peace. Sermon done. There we go. Sing the last song. Just as I am. And we can be done, right? No, it's more complicated. It has to be more complicated. It's simple, yet difficult to do. Go do what Jesus did everywhere where there's no peace. And it's like, okay, but where? Like, where do you mean everywhere? Where? Like, we complicate this Great Commission, don't we? Like, we think, with the where question especially, where are we sent? Where do we go? Where is our harvest field? And the key to answer all those questions is that first word, the word peace. That's way more than a pose you make for a picture, right? Peace is way more than just the absence of conflict. Peace is the Hebrew word shalom in the Old Testament. And it's this idea of the presence of God's reign and rule over every house and heart and community and country. The shalom of God is heaven on earth. Think of the words from the Lord's Prayer. Your kingdom come, your will be done. What's the next word? On earth as it is in heaven. That's the shalom of God. God's will that's in heaven coming here on earth. The peace of God, the reign of God, heaven on earth. When we receive that in our lives from Jesus' death and resurrection, we are then to take that to every corner and crevice of the world that has not yet experienced or have the peace of God for their lives. We are sent to go to places that do not yet have God's peace. Looking for places that lack the peace of God is kind of like looking for a ramen noodles to eat. You know ramen noodles? You know what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about the ones that college students eat, you know. The ones that like treat like a Rice Krispie treat, they just drink it dry, you know, eat it like that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's like a cheap knockoff of what ramen noodles really were. Anyone have like a real good ramen noodle dish? It's like, we were in Japan visiting some church planners there at the first church I worked at with my boss. And ramen is like this incredible dish. Beautiful meat and veggies and noodles and this really, really tasty broth. I mean, it is not the cheap knockoff we have at Walmart for 5 cents, you know, for each one. And I'd never had this incredible, you know, dish before. But I'm not a foodie. Like, foodies are about quality. I'm about quantity. Okay, and so I wanted to eat. He said big bowl of soup. I'm like, I'm all in. And so he's like, look, we got to find it. There's these ramen restaurants. We got to find one and go get this ramen. So the missionaries left us in the middle of this marketplace in Nagoya, Japan. And they said, hey, we'll see you in 6 hours. Go explore. And so he's trying to find this, and no one speaks English, and we don't speak Japanese. And so we're walking down this marketplace, and we find something along the road, and we ask them, you know, with our hand motions, and we say ramen, you know, which saying it louder doesn't help. But we did hand motions, and every time we asked someone, they always pointed down the road and to the right. And so we went down the road to the right, and in Japan, all the restaurants have all of their dishes like on display in the window, so you can kind of look and see what they have. And we couldn't find this ramen noodle place, and so we'd ask someone else, ramen down the road and to the right. We did this for 3 hours, down the road and to the right. It was so long we'd stop for a snack, right? to try and find this ramen restaurant. And we kept going around. We even made the whole loop. We'd done it multiple times until finally we saw this guy, and he looked at us like we're idiots, because we were. He went like this, which means everywhere has ramen. Just choose a restaurant, and they have it there. If you go around America going, hamburger? Like, is there a hamburger anywhere? Right? Everywhere has hamburgers. Everywhere has ramen. Get this. Where are the places that don't have the peace of God? It's not down the road and to the right. It's everywhere. Like it's the clerk at the grocery store. It's the person that serves you your breakfast at Skillets. It's the neighbor down the road who lives lonely and alone and isolated from the world. It's our people in our family. It's our kids and our grandkids and our sisters and our brothers and our cousins. It's literally everywhere you look. There are people that are living hell on earth and are not experiencing the peace of God in their lives today. Where do we go? We go everywhere to give people a glimpse of heaven on earth, the gospel that we have received. Why Naples? We like to say it like this, because Naples may look like paradise, but it doesn't look like heaven. Like marriages are falling apart in Naples. Addictions run rampant in Naples. Career success is God in Naples. Status and wealth is the allure in Naples. A place that we know this. People move to Naples because they believe that this place, this Southwest Florida region, this is going to fulfill all my needs and all my desires and all my yearnings. We know that's a lie from the pits of hell. Like, it will not satisfy. Not a place, but a person will. Person who's known as the Prince of Peace. Why Naples? Because Naples lacks the peace of God. John 20:21 says it like this: peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. That's the good news of the gospel, right? He died on our sins. He took the curse on himself, our shame, our guilt, all our fear. And because of what he did on the cross and the resurrection, we have no need anymore to try to prove our worth and our value by what we do. There's no need in our lives to overcome our shame. He paid that price on the cross. There's no more fear of death and all the ways that death tries to run our lives. There's no more bitterness or rage or anger ruling in our hearts anymore. Jesus says, I'm making everything new. And every one of us gets to be a part of him doing that work where we live, work, learn, and play. And he says, receive that peace and then be the, hands, feet, and heart of Jesus in that place, because the Father sent him, so he is sending us. That's where we go. At this point, we ask, okay, now I know where, everywhere, thanks, preacher. How was Jesus sent? Like, if you answer the where question, we need to ask the how question. Because when we talk about living life as a missionary, like being on mission with Jesus, being an evangelist and a disciple maker, Christians need two things. We need to be inspired. We also need to be trained and equipped. Like, how do I do that, pastor? How do I do that, preacher? Well, here's the big how stuff, okay? Jesus says, as Father sent me, so what I did in my life, you go do that. That's why his first invitation is not to come and believe. It's not to come and learn. It's not to come and preach even. It's to come and follow. Do what Jesus did. In Dave Ferguson, in his book Blessed, he broke down Jesus' way of life into this acronym that has been really helpful for me. The first one is B, begin with prayer. So if you're a note taker, now's the time to take some notes. B, begin with prayer. Matthew 9:36-38. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were the harassed and the helpless, the sheep without a shepherd, right? This is the where. He's in the crowds, he's seeing the needs, okay? And what happens? He says to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. What's the next word? Ask. Don't go. Start with prayer. Ask the Lord to raise up workers for the harvest field. This is a spiritual work. We're dealing with people's hearts, like Jeff was saying earlier. We're dealing with spiritual people's lives. This is a spiritual work, making dead things alive. I don't know about you, but I can't do that on my own. And so he says, I get that you can't do it on your own. He's like, I can, so ask me, the Lord of the harvest, to raise up workers for the harvest field. Pray. Begin with prayer, always. Andy Murray said it like this: the man who mobilizes the Christian church to pray will make the greatest contribution to world evangelization in history. We always have to begin asking God to do this work, because it is the Lord's work. The L, I'm going to go quick, is listen. Say listen. Say it better. Listen. There we go. Jesus asked way more questions than he ever just gave answers. You read the Gospels, the stories of Jesus' life. He asked things like, what do you want? Do you want to get well? Why are you so afraid? What do you think? What shall we say the kingdom of God is like? What do you want me to do for you? Jesus knows the answers to their questions, but Jesus models to listen. So we should, right? Jesus knew his Proverbs. Proverbs 18:3 says this: it's stupid and embarrassing to give an answer before you listen. Quit beating around the bush, jeez. Right? That verse alone would save like 90% of marriages. Am I right? Like, we need to listen first. The reasoning is because listening shows someone that you care. Dave Ferguson said this in his chapter on listening. When the people in our lives feel unheard and unknown, it ultimately leaves them feeling unloved. In 2010, the Museum of Modern Art in New York City invited this performance artist named Marina Abramovich to perform her performance art titled "The Artist is Present." And what she did is she sat in a chair for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for 3 straight months. And across from her was a table and another chair that faced her. And the performance art was anyone could come sit in this chair and be present with Marina Abramovich for as long as they wanted. She wanted to be present with whoever needed someone to be present. And the museum curator was like, probably need to be ready for no one to come sit there. That's a pretty vulnerable thing to do with a stranger, okay? He was dead wrong. The chair was never empty. For 3 straight months, strangers came and sat and made eye contact with Marina Abramovich for minutes, for hours, and some would sit a whole day. There was a line outside the door down the road. People yearning to have someone, another human being's undivided attention. 78 people came back over 20 times during these 3 months. Abramovich said that she had never seen so much pain just being present with someone else. Dallas Willard said the first act of love is always the giving of attention. So begin with prayer and then truly listen to someone else and be present with them. Then here's the best one. Here's the E. Invite people over to, you ready? Eat. And they all said, amen. That's right. Eat with people. Go out to restaurants. Have them over to your house. Do a meal. Have a meal. If you read the Gospel of Luke, you see the whole Gospels range around Jesus eating at dinner tables with people. He ate with the Pharisees. He ate at a banquet with tax collectors and sinners, with disciples in the upper room. So much so, his eating habits were a point of contention with people at the time. Luke 7:34 says this: the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and you say, here's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. All he did was he hung out with them around a dinner table. If you want to bless people, do what Jesus did. Simply eat with them. There's something mystical and spiritual that happens when you share a meal with someone else. Walls come down, laughter starts, right? They spill something. Get a little food on. Everyone becomes a little bit more human, right, when you got food in between your teeth. It's why Jesus says in Acts 2, or it's why the early church in Acts 2 devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, fellowship, and what? Breaking of bread. That's why we gather around a table every Sunday, is to eat together, because somehow Jesus is mysteriously present in that moment. People become human and not our enemies in that moment. Eat together. The S is to serve. As you get to know people through praying, listening, and eating, then meet their needs by serving them. Mark 10:45, Jesus said, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. The truth of the matter is this: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And serving them shows them that you care. And once you have done those first 4, you begin with prayer, you listen, you eat, and you serve, you now have, I promise you, you'll have opportunities to share Jesus with them. The last S is share. I love what Peter says in 1 Peter 3:15. He says, always be prepared. When? But what if it's late at night? What if I'm tired? What if the Dallas Cowboys are playing football and I have to watch the game? There's no room there. Always. Be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have, but do it with gentleness and respect. There's an assumption in that verse. The assumption is that people are going to be asking you about your life. Right? They're going to be asking you about your praying and your listening and your eating and your serving. They're going to be wondering, why do you live life that way? And when they do, always be prepared to give an answer. When they ask you. So we have to ask this hard question. Are people asking me about my lifestyle or not? Why Naples? That's where God sent us. Where? Because everyone needs peace. How? Well, like Jesus did. We blessed them in the same way that Jesus blessed us. So what does that mean for you and I today? Here's what it means. Ready? As a father sent him, so he's sending you. Every single one of you. When Jesus invites you to follow him, he invites you to do what he did. Live life as a missionary. We are sent ones. Friends, this is how we win the battles between the powers of darkness and the power of light. It's more, we win that battle more than getting laws passed or getting people elected into office or how much we know about the Bible or how big our church is. We fight this war in every crevice and corner of the globe for every person in every house on every street. It reminds me of the powerful speech that Winston Churchill gave to Parliament during World War II. It's one of the most popular speeches, most impactful speeches in world history. And I'm going to do it without the accent, okay? We shall go on to the end, he said. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. It's one of the greatest speeches in world history. And in no way, here, please hear me, in no way do I want to minimize the cost and sacrifice and the importance of this moment in world history for our culture and our way of life today. The Allied forces, well, they're the greatest generation that ever lived. They saved our civilization from a crazed tyrant who was committing genocide and almost succeeded in ruling the known world. It took everyone, everywhere, fighting together in factories and on the battlefield, changing our diets and our way of life to win World War II. And yet, I want to make this point. We are still fighting the same enemy today. Behind every war, behind every genocide in history, for thousands of years, there's been an enemy of ours. His name is Satan. And he's been prowling around like a roaring lion, causing war and mass murder and sexual abuse and bitterness and racism and greed and hate and broken marriages and isolated widows and orphans. He has been creating havoc and hell on earth in our world for thousands of years. He's behind the conflict in the Middle East and the war in Ukraine. He's behind the fact that my friends are trapped and can't get up without being high or stoned or drunk. He's wreaking havoc on people's lives and on people's hearts. And the only way, God's plan A, to roll back the powers of Satan in this world, in every way, in every situation, is his thing called the church. Here's the gospel. Here's my peace. As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you. And so we fight with God, not in the way with the weapons of the world. We bless the way God taught us to bless. We'll bless in Naples, and we will bless in Bonita Springs, and we will bless in Fort Myers. We'll bless the whole 239 area code. We will bless in HOAs and coffee shops and on golf courses. We will bless everywhere we live, work, learn, and play. Here's my challenge for you today. It's this. Why blank? Every single one of us in this room must fill that blank in with a people or a place. People need to be asking you, why do you care about the homeless? Well, why are you serving them so much? Why do you keep delivering meals to people who are hungry? Why are you teaching English to speakers of other languages? Why are you serving at a Christian camp? Why are you mentoring young couples? Why Naples? Why Bonita Springs? Why that HOA? Why that skate park? Why that school? And when you have someone ask you the question, your answer should be pretty simple. As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you. Let's pray. We echo the words of Isaiah, Lord.